Hello everyone, my name is Nikolas and I am one of the playtesters for Perdition's Mouth, Abyssal Rift, the Traitor Guard expansion. I have been asked by the game creator and president of Dragon Dawn production, Timo Multamäki, to make a small presentation of the new hero that is coming in this expansion, Brother Örn. Two small things before I start off this presentation. First of all, I will not explain any of the basic gameplay of the game, explain what the game is about or how it plays. If you want to know more of that, you should go to some of the previews and reviews that were made in connection to the previous campaign and or have been made since the first Kickstarter campaign where this game was funded. Second of all, I will only be showing you prototype material. Everything I have here is things that I've printed at the printing shop. The cards are just paper, but I've stanced them on other hero cards from the game, and obviously they're sleeved as well. So I think this is pretty close to the final product, but the color is a little bit darker than it should be. There might be some tweaks to the text. There are certainly some printing issues on the player board that have been addressed since, but still on this player board they're still present. There is no starting health here. There's some text missing here on the side. But as far as the gameplay goes, this hero is 98% done. So, going into the abilities of Brother Örn and who he is. He is a cultist, a guard from the dungeon that we're exploring. And during the scenario, I will not give it away how it works out, but there will be the possibility to have him join the team during the adventure into Perdition's Mouth. So just looking over his character sheet here, you can see he has his own symbol. He is a mage, and he is ranged, and he is melee. So this is the first thing that you can see that is entirely new for this hero, which we haven't seen before. Is a hero that is both ranged and melee. And I will go into a little bit later what type of implications that actually has on the gameplay, but it is quite unique for sure. So we go down here to his abilities. He is a traitor, and this is just for the hard difficulty, but it is certainly something that I have been using a lot while playtesting this character. And it says every summoner always considers you to be the weakest hero. This obviously means that a group where Brother Örn joins in will have much more control over where the summoners pop up, because obviously they will teleport themselves and they will spawn, and they will always go for the weakest hero. And in this case, he is always considered the weakest hero, so this gives you a lot of control of where to put the summoners, and you can obviously place Brother Örn accordingly to have him bring the summoners up where you need them to be able to eliminate them or just simply avoid them. Cultist Key can open any locked door at 1 AP, is a little bit more efficient and cheaper than it normally is. Not a huge deal, but definitely something you can save a few action points with, and maybe something that would motivate you to put Brother Örn to the front on certain occasions. Sensor, it's a treasure that will be added to the treasure deck. I do not know what it is because I haven't had the opportunity to play with it, but it is one of the many things that will be added in this campaign is obviously this new item. So we have a special ability here, as all the other heroes do, and this is bind any figure of same or smaller size in range 2 so that he cannot move, and to attack has to draw a reaction card. If an eye symbol is shown, the figure can attack normally. If not, the figure has -2 on its attack. Mark the bound figures with a bound marker. So there will be bound markers available with which you can mark the figures. And this is obviously a very useful ability, but very risky to use because you have to be within 2 range of the figures and they have to be the same size. So obviously you can't bind Shilens, for examples, unless of course you have a certain combination of heroes, which I'm not going to give away here, but there is certainly that possibility of having him even binding larger enemies with the right hero combination. Very powerful ability, hard to pull off in the right way, but if you do, you can have especially smaller creatures or acolytes and other such things just be tied to the ground and they just don't constitute a threat at all. Also with guards and summoners, obviously this is something that can be very useful. So moving on, 5 action points, no matter at what health he is. Very nice, very consistent. Not the highest value in the game, but definitely a good value. And of course it doesn't decrease with taking damage, which is really good. 1 to 3 range puts him in the same category as we have with Neshilim here. So he is basically a melee character with 3 range, which is a very powerful ability. I think for Neshilim one of his most powerful ones. But obviously Brother Ern is also ranged. So he has ranged and melee 1 to 3. 3 health. He starts at 3, dies at 0, as do all. 3 attack, 2 when he's at the bottom of his health, is decent. 2 defense, not particularly powerful, but he will have ways to boost all of these abilities quite obviously using his hero cards. So I think I'll move on to the hero cards here, and as was mentioned earlier, he is a traitor, and so the summoners will always consider him to be the weakest hero, and then the card Pillow Talk comes in very handy. So play when a summoner tries to attack you. Draw a response card. If it has an eye symbol on it, he attacks you. Otherwise, choose the next valid target. If there are no other targets, he will immediately teleport and ignore you as the weakest hero instead of attacking. So, obviously very powerful if you know you can place Brother Ern in a space where there will be no other valid targets, or where the only valid target is someone like Bastian defending or something of that effect. It's very, very powerful to be able to play that card and just sort of just disable that summoner and not make it attack at all. Very useful. Group power comes in then. Each cultist in range 1 of Ern gives +1 to every action. So this is a very special card, and this is also something that makes Brother Ern so unique. Obviously together with Pillow Talk as well. We haven't seen that with any other hero, but he has this ability not just to fight the opponents and the cultists and insectoids that are in the dungeon, but he actually also feeds from them. He pulls energy from them, and actually placing him in the right positions according to the enemy figures on the board can actually make him stronger. So here is obviously a very powerful ability. If you place him right, he can have a big boost on everything he does. So he could have a charge action that then lets him move, and then he can attack, and then at the end of the turn, if he is attacked, he also has a bonus defense. So you can really get together a very, very high value of bonuses with this one card if you play it exactly right. So then we come to Milking the Cattle, obviously only usable for movement and special actions, but it gives action points for each insectoid within 2 range. So 2 action points for each insectoid within 2 range, but the number 2 here is red, meaning that you can actually boost it up to a range of 6 using action points. So play the right way, this can obviously give you a superb movement value, or you can use it in combination with your binding ability, of course. And you may draw a card, which is always nice, cycle through the deck. Hidden markers. Obviously, Brother Ern is a fallen cultist and knows his way around in the dungeon. So there is the ability to redraw portcullis, door, and chest cards. Chest cards, obviously, a little bit like someone like Nithil would have. It's just a little bit easier to open chests, and you can also deal with it if you have a bad draw. Portcullises and doors are very useful when you go up against Shilans that might want to break something up, and you can have your whole scenario and your whole setup of the scenario ruined by one Shilan just making one of those unlikely breakthrough through one of the portcullises. And here with this card in hand, you can just annul that and do the draw again, which can be very useful in certain situations. And if that situation doesn't arrive, you actually have 2 for aiding, which is a nice alternative in those scenarios where it's not useful, or if you just happen to have it on your hand and never have to use it for any of those situations that are stated on the card otherwise. So here comes another one of those Fallen Cultist cards where you can tell that Brother Ern knows his way around in the dungeon, and that is Emergency Exit. You and any other hero can exit the scenario using any square with a trap door on the same turn after you. So this is basically a pure gold card in one of those later scenarios where you don't want to take a lot of damage because you know you need your good heroes for the later turns and you just want to get through quickly. You can just use this beautifully, have Brother Ern show the way and just escape through a trap door, and not making it through an entire map to make it to the exit, but just taking a very, very quick path through. Very useful card, but you have to remove this card from your deck for the rest of the game. So a normal campaign of Perdition's Mouth, Abyssal Rift, obviously go through 8 levels. Only in one of those levels you can actually use this card. And you better see to that all the heroes can escape during this one turn. Otherwise it might just be wasted. Here we come to more normal cards in quotation marks. Bone Worm Venom. A +3 card, but 0 versus bone worms. So obviously there will be situations where this simply isn't that powerful, but otherwise a 3+ card is a good card, and you will most of the time find good use for it. Secret Hand Sign is a 2 movement, or 2 defense, or even 4 defense if you go up against Cultist. So obviously another one of those, if you're surrounded very closely by a set of summoners, you can just you can play group power first to boost your attack, then have an extra defense coming up, and then you throw this card on top of it. You can be you can get Brother Ern into a position where he is very, very strong in defending against certain enemies, but he needs to get in close and he needs to be attacked for it. But again, this is the way that he interacts with dungeons and all the creatures in it. Chilean Saliva Potion. I only wish it wouldn't smell so bad, he says. A lot of nice flavor text here. So another 3 card for anything, 1 for aiding. An egocentric card. Exactly the same way works Scriptures of Xarutos. The sacred scriptures always give an answer. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that. I'll have to ask Timo about that. Prayer card, 1 plus a reaction card, plus you can draw a card. Very nice. We have seen similar cards with Nifil, and I think also Neshilim has one of those. I don't think they get to draw a card though, but always nice. A little bit of a joker there. You don't know what you're gonna get, but usually a very strong boost. So here comes another nice thing that makes Brother Ern so versatile, that he actually has a bong. What he does with that, I am probably not allowed to say. But anyhow, it has some powerful abilities here, because for every 2 action points you spend to use your bong, you may discard a wound card from your hand. So earlier we've seen that... oh, now his name escapes me. Sima. Sima has this ability to actually remove wound cards from your hand, which for during a whole campaign obviously can be very useful, since when you go through a level you actually heal up your wounds, but you keep the wound cards, and having your deck clogged up with these wound cards can be very bad. So Brother Ern can put himself in situations that are very dangerous, and even if he takes wound, he might have the ability to use his bong to actually discard wound cards out of his hand, and he gets to draw new cards. So very useful card in very many situations, but only works for him. So it's a little bit of an egoistic thing there. He doesn't necessarily have the best supporting abilities, although there are a few exceptions to that we will see now. But he then again has this ability that otherwise we've only seen with Sima, which I think is a very neat thing. So here we have lullabies. All heroes in one range may draw a card. Obviously, if you just place it just right, you know, having your whole team just draw a card and having him reshuffle his deck and draw up to his hand limit of 5, excellent. And you can remove one fatigue. Obviously, also very good if you took some damage, maybe from a guard or from the demon or whomever. Very nice to be able to just remove one of those, bring him up to his nice action points there of 5, not having to worry about it. And at the very end, Victim Blood Pint. A 4 bonus card for any action, simply one of those really strong cards. He only has one of them that is a pure numbered card in the deck. But as you can see, there is a variety of things he can do, and he has a variety of numeric cards that actually work very well in many situations. So he is a character who can be very situational. There are certain situations where he works better than others, obviously, but there are also very many of those situations. So if you know how to play him, he can be really, really very powerful. So moving on to one of the most unique and, in my opinion, probably most useful features of him, and that is his ability to be both melee and ranged. And as many of you know, probably everyone who's made it this far into the video, there is this spoke which is bash and aim shot. These are usually the most powerful attacks you can make in the game. Bash obviously because it also gives you the push ability, which can actually allow you to double wound enemies, and aim shot obviously because it also has this sidestep ability, so you can shoot and you can move away, which can be a very useful way to avoid being harmed, and also give you a +1 bonus, which is always helpful. Brother Ern can actually choose which one of these he will go to. So you could find yourself in a situation where the bash is used and then he just takes the aim shot, or you can find yourself in a situation where you have where you can't actually use your melee attack and you have to shoot, or other way around. Obviously he can also bash at a range of 3, which obviously Neshalim can do as well. But then again, he is also only melee, so he doesn't have the ability of doing the aim shot. Also very nice if you need to shoot someone and then move out of range, if you play with a standard difficulty guard. This can definitely be much more useful than bash in certain situations, and with bash you actually move closer to the enemy. And here you can actually move away after the shot. So very strong ability. As I said, one of the things, if not the thing, that makes Brother Ern the most powerful almost is that he has this double ability, which makes him very diverse in a series of different situations. He has good range, good action points, binding ability, a good set of cards. All in all, a very interesting, a very thematic new hero that does something very different from the other heroes. He's not a strict fighter, but I can really do some damage. He is not a sort of crowd control, very speciality cards type of hero like Sima is, but at the same time has this sort of crowd control ability that Sima has. With the binding, he can bind figures so that they can't move, as Sima could just push them away. So has a little bit of that. He is versatile in a sense that Neshalim is also with his cards. There are many different situations he can use. Neshalim is certainly more of a fighter, I would say. has 3 hit points, which is not strong, but then again, if you compare him to Sima here, he still has 1 more hit point than he does, which is definitely alright. And that every summoner treats him as the weakest hero is just one of those things that you can just use so well, especially if you have someone like Sima around, who will always be considered the weakest hero otherwise, and you don't want him to take damage because he has such a poor defense value, and then you find yourself in a situation where the summoners are teleporting and they're attacking him, and you have to maybe just throw out dozens of cards to keep him alive. Usually you can deal with that in a much more secure way with Brother Ern on your team. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. I would encourage you to check out the rest of the Kickstarter page if any of this sounds interesting to you. If you stuck around this long and you still don't know how the game works, as I said, check out some of the other videos that have been made on gameplay of this game. And I hope you will consider backing this project. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.